Happy Friday, everybody. I am Chris Gore. This is Film Threat. Thank you for joining us here on a Friday morning. Well, it's morning for me, Pacific time, but it's going to be an interesting show today. So much to talk about. We're gonna preview Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Also, the movie Fall from Lionsgate. It's kind of a thriller. Is in theaters today. Also, Emily the Criminal, an indie movie starring Aubrey Plaza. Can't wait to chat with you about that. And E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial is back in theaters. It's the 40-year anniversary of this film, and I saw it in IMAX last night. A lot to talk about, and we have the director, writer, and lead of I Love My Dad is here with us. James Morosini is here. He's going to be joining us at the end of the show. Cannot wait to chat with you all. Let's get things started, folks. Excited to see you. A lot of the chat is on fire. I'm excited that you're all here. Let's go. Alan, how's it going, man?
Good. I'm doing some housekeeping here for this stream.
Oh, good. I appreciate that you're doing housekeeping. Alan, do you know what the word drungry is?
Oh, that's I would assume that's when you're drunk and have not eaten, something like that.
Well, it's when you're drunk and hungry.
Oh, okay.
Last night I was drungry. Let me just say, here's what happened. I got to the AMC Burbank 16, the sort of area. There's like this court, and there's all these, there's a lot of little restaurants there. And I went to Islands. Islands has one of the best happy hours in that area. And they have a watermelon margarita that is for a limited time only, which is always a mistake to do. But their drinks are appropriately priced. It is a very good happy hour. And I didn't really eat, but I did drink. So then later, after I saw the film, hung out a little bit with our movie meetup group, went home, and I'm hungry. I got to eat something, right? I'm drungry. And I went and I got fast food, and I should not have done that. And I feel terrible. I feel awful from having done that. And drungry is it's a portmanteau, which a portmanteau, it's a word. I don't know that it's got to be Urban Dictionary, right? Drungry. But like a portmanteau is when you take two words, put them together to make a new word. For example, if you made a portmanteau bag. This is my bad joke for the day, folks. I'm sorry for that. I am sorry for that. But I'm happy to see you here. Let's see who's in the chat. I'm going to say hello to Todd Packer is here. Good to see you. Why does Disney hate men so much? Haven't they seen Alan? He's adorable. Exactly. I would say that.
I've given so much of my life and my money to Disney.
But you know, what can you say? TGIF says Trav 101, who is a member. Shelby AC. Hey, everybody. Hope you're all having a good week. Shelby AC also goes on to say, watched From Earth to the Moon series this week. Now I'm super into space documentaries. LOL. Yeah. There's another really good documentary, obviously produced in collaboration with NASA, called For All Mankind. And I strongly recommend For All Mankind. There's another really good one I saw in IMAX, Apollo 11. It's just about it's like a fly on the wall for the Apollo 11 space flight. So
yeah, my dad actually worked on the Apollo missions as an engineer. And we try to get him all that stuff. He's seen every single documentary. And it's just weird. It's just, pride for your father. He was there. He was a part of history. And I just love looking back at that stuff.
Father Pride. They should do a Father Pride Month.
Yeah. Or parade, at least.
A parade for dads. Let's go. Yeah. Come on. Let's do it. Pilgrim Media for 2 says, I'm a boomer. We appreciate the dad jokes. Yes. So, but I was drungry last night. I got fast food. The next day after getting fast food, I never that was a good decision. Like, no, I made a poor decision in the moment. I should have gone home, drank a big glass of water, gone to bed. So,
yeah, did you eat and then fall asleep?
Yes, this is not
there
good.
You go.
That's how I feel terrible physically.
Yeah, that'll ruin your system.
I'm not okay. So Flaccid Phoenix says, I love my dad.
I
Alan.
do love my dad. Come on.
Bromide 01 says, pledge now for your free portmanteau tote bag. No one look up portmanteau. There's a lot of portmanteau. I can't if something is good and weird, it's weird. I've always said, oh, that's so good and weird. It's weird. So yeah. John Manalang, who's a member, thank you for that. Mr. Gore, give me your keys. You're still drunk. Okay. I'm not proud of this. I'm not proud of any of this behavior. I'm explaining this. This is why I'm saying today I might be a little slow. Might be a little slow today. But yeah, I have woken up the next day and I burp and I can taste that I had too many old fashions the night before. I am not recommending this behavior. I am your warning sign. I'm a person telling you don't do that. The Luke Deckard Show says, that's awesome, Alan. I wrote an episode of Short History of podcast about the moon landing. Your dad might like that.
Yeah. I feel like Corey Feldman from Stand By Me. I got to defend my dad.
Easy Tigers, who's a member, thank you for that. Hail Film Threat. Vanderg says, a Dragon Ball review on Film Threat. Nice. We're going to get to that later today. Alan, Travel 1 says, Alan with a big smile. Everyone, what is it? You know what I think who's starring the comments is Alan. It's all positive stuff about Alan. Trav 101 is a member. Good evening, Film Threat from the UK. Welcome from the UK. Good to see you. Glad to have you here. Retro Nerd Girl says, good morning, Chris and Alan. Thank you, Retro Nerd Girl. Always good to have you here. John Manalang, it's Friday, Alan. Free the Nipple Fridays. You asked for it. Here it comes. Here it is. And I've got probably what I think is the best new Alan video. We're gonna debut it next week. No, I'm saving it for next week.
All right.
Yellow Flash 2, zero marketing for superhero. Yeah, no, it's weird. There is some stuff online. I've seen some stuff at my local AMC, but I can't wait to talk about it. Oh wait, Yellow Flash 2. Did you see Dragon Ball Superhero? I saw it. I loved it. Okay, I don't want to spoil it. I got to talk about it because I have to give you a preface to it. We're going to talk about, because I want more people to join, right? Get the stream going. You want more people to join, but Yellow Flash 2, I have seen it. That's so great. Oh my God. Okay. I can't wait to talk about it because, well, should we just launch right into it? Wait, I can tell her.
Oh, okay.
Goober has nipple fatigue. All right, fine.
No, this is the one I accidentally hit.
Okay, I can tell a Dragon Ball review is coming because of Chris's Super Saiyan hair. Yeah, look at this. I definitely have Dragon Ball hair going on. But while we wait for more people to get here, so smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, and here's your little reminder. Oh, wow. That's your reminder to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. We're going to talk about, very briefly, a movie that is in theaters today. It's from Lionsgate. It is a thriller. Let me get this up here. Sorry, folks. All right, we're going to kick off with this. We'll get to Dragon Ball Super, I promise. We're going to get to Dragon Ball Super.
One, by the way.
What's that?
I was dreading this one. I do get movie acrophobia.
Okay, so Alan, big question for you. Are you afraid of heights?
I've never tried. I never tested that, but I do get sort of anxious when I see movies like this.
Okay, so I don't have a fear oh, I'm deathly afraid or whatever, but I do get a little queasy or weak-kneed if I'm on the edge of a building or a high precipice and you look way down. I don't like to be in those areas for very long. So if you do have a fear of heights, this movie Fall is your nightmare. Okay, it's about a woman who tragically loses her husband in a mountain climbing accident. And what she does is, on the anniversary of his death, she's going to climb this very high tower in the middle of a desert and let his ashes go off into the wind. She goes with her best friend. They climb the tower, and the lead actress, what's her name? She's in she's actually going to be in the new Shazam movie.
Or she been in it?
I believe it's Grace Fulton. Yeah, Grace Fulton is the lead of the film, and she's the one whose husband passed away. And they go up on this tower, and of course, first of all, I'm shocked that they made an entire movie. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays Grace Fulton's character's father. And I didn't recognize him. It looks like he just looks like a different version of Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
By the way, it's Grace Curry.
Grace Curry. It says Grace.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, no, Grace Fulton. Okay.
Yeah, Grace Fulton.
Yeah,
Grace Fulton. Okay, thank you, Alan. I appreciate it, helping me out here. So they climb up this tower, and I'm just shocked that they made they start climbing the tower about 15 minutes into the movie. I'm like, how are they going to make a whole movie of them caught on the tower? And they do. It's like that Ryan Reynolds movie Buried, where he's like in the coffin and doesn't know where he is, and all he has is his cell phone. Have you ever seen that movie? Ryan Reynolds? Look it up.
Yeah.
All right, look it up.
I saw the episode of CSI where that happened. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this whole movie, they're stuck on this tower, and they go through like, okay, what can we do? They're getting attacked by vultures. Like every 5-10 minutes, there's a new problem that they have to solve, and leading to a twist ending that I'm not going to reveal the ending, but I will say this: the movie is very effective at giving you this fear of heights and the fear of impending doom. Because what happens is they get trapped on top of the tower when of course, like what they're climbing just crumbles and falls off this tower. They're just stuck up there with no tangible way to get down. But I thought of a way they could get down that kind of bugged me.
Oh, yeah.
So they try everything. They're like they throw their cell phone down because there's better coverage on the ground than up high. So they throw their cell phone down to send an Instagram post to call 911 and their location. They go through like every possible way to solve their problem, except I thought of a way they could get down. You ever do that with like a sort of like movies where people are on peril? You put your head into that and think to yourself, well, how would I respond in that situation? And I thought it's a simple thing of like, and I've seen this where you shimmy down, like you've got like something around you and you kind of shimmy down using your feet, and like, you could use cloth or a wire and kind of shimmy down the pole.
And they definitely had rope to do that.
They didn't do that. I'm telling you, I'm sitting here like, why don't you just shimmy down the pole? Why don't you just shimmy down the pole? I swear I've seen it in an episode of the 66 Adam West Batman TV series. Didn't they shimmy down poles? Like you put something around the thing, you hold it, and then you kind of slide. I mean, it's not the ideal way to get down, but it's better than staying up there. And they stay up there.
Batman, the pole is sideways, and then they're just walking.
Well, true. Yes, I get it. But I'm this movie is fine. It's not the greatest movie in the world. Not going to change your life. It's like a lot of things that come out now. It's just like, oh, that was fun. It's okay. I forgot half of it having walked out of the theater, and it was. I will say the kind of the twist that happens like in the third act, I thought was pretty clever. But if you're afraid of heights, I feel like if you're not afraid of heights, take your friend who is afraid of heights, because that'll be like a fun thing to experience, them watching the movie, living in utter terror and fear. Mm-hmm. So fun film, not a great film, but I'm impressed that they were able to sustain this concept for a full hour, 40 minutes, stuck on the top of the tower, trying to figure out any possible way that they can solve their situation. Mm-hmm. But in my head, I'm like, just shimmy down get something. You could take your jacket or something, I know it's not, look, and this is like in my, like, yeah, sure, I'm not in that situation, but I swear I've seen that before. You just shimmy down.
They had plenty of rope to do that. Absolutely.
If they had some, well, yeah. Okay, so you saw the movie.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, so what are your thoughts, Alan?
I agree with you. I don't know that I'm acrophobic, but I was definitely feeling the anxiety, and they were pushing it. They were very much pushing it. I'll just have to say it. It's a well-constructed thriller. It does capture your attention for an hour and a half, and they go through everything that they possibly could do, except for shimmying down the tower.
Why didn't they think to shimmy?
Yeah. Other than that, and then I hadn't even thought about the buzzards, the vultures, until they came. And and the ending, which I won't spoil, is it's okay, it's clever. They did it, and this is what you want. If you want an hour and a half of just on the edge of your seat, we're there, and it's constructed well. I always like movies that are constructed like an orchestral piece. It's got its high moments, the quiet moments, moving back to the high moments, and then leading to the crescendo at the end. And this movie does it. And it's just weird, but I'm fairly impressed with the way they pulled this movie off. That there are a lot of safety measures here, and that they may not actually be on top of this tower the whole time, but yeah, they fooled me, and I like that. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, they do legit climb a lot. I'm just wondering how much was digital. How obviously when they're at the very top, that's all digital, but it was very convincingly done.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like these actors know what they're doing, and they actually did everything, all the stunts. At least it appears that way, and that you could plausibly believe the characters did these things.
But it's with any movie that's like a disaster movie, or in particular a zombie movie, right? Like, what are the choices I would make if I was in that situation? And I think that everybody thinks that, and that's where the movie, like, I just kept saying they just have to shimmy. It's not going to be easy. And like as the movie goes on, because they're up there more than a day, it like as it goes on, like they're getting weak. They're tight. They don't have water. It's like you got your full strength now. You got to shimmy. Yeah. So,
but anyway, I don't think it's spoiler to say that they're up there for a few days. Actually,
So, Alan, would you recommend Fall?
I would absolutely recommend it. Especially with the glut of movies we have this summer.
Yeah, there's not a lot of things to see in theaters at this moment, but a mild recommendation. If you see it on streaming later, you didn't miss anything. But I will say this: I think seeing it in a theater really adds to that, like that fear of heights. I mean, it's like a real terror, right? So, yeah, let's get to some comments here. So, a mild recommendation for Fall from both Alan and I, but it's not like,
I think it's a good recommendation.
It's
it's not great, but it's good.
It's a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes for me, probably 65 or 70. It's not, but so there you go. Let's get to some comments here before we talk about Dragon Ball Super. Not the Batman says the real horror of the movie would have been the characters are 2/3 of the way up and their stomach rumbles. And one of them says, I shouldn't have had that gas station coffee. Yeah. Or how about gas station nachos? Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. You bring it up all the time, but neither of them peed at any point during the time.
I always think, when are the characters going to the bathroom? When do they go to the bath? That should have been a thing in the movie. Yeah. Scott Slaughterbeck says,
I mean, that could have helped the dehydration problem.
Alan, what you said is just wrong. What you said is just wrong.
Hey, look, if you watch Bear Grylls and Man vs. Wild, that's what
this
they do.
This is Alan.
It's you watch survival shows. That's what they do.
Okay, Scott Slaughterbeck says, I don't think shimmy would work. One slip, it's over. But that's the point. You got to take the risk.
Yeah, but I think you could loop it around.
Out of the tension, shimmying down. It's like one. I think give it a shimmy. Yeah. The sequel to Fall is shimmy.
They had enough rope where they could loop it around like 2 or 3 times as they're shimmying.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Fletcher Williams says, Alan and Chris fixing movie problems one at a time. Scott Slaughterbeck goes on to say, I feel for the crew filming that film. Amanda Nowicki, nobody ever comes up with the obvious answers in a film. That's true. Like movie characters, they have to be dumb. They have to be dumb. They just have to be dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it also gives the audience the sense that, oh, I'm smarter than the characters in the movie because I would shimmy.
And that would have ended the movie like 20 minutes into it.
Flaccid Phoenix says they didn't pee because they have 3 kidneys each. Well, there you go. Let's see. Trav 101 says, they get creative with, I like it when movies do this. So, yeah. All right. Remember that Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie, The Walk, says Bear Down Adam, who's a member. Thank you. I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember that one.
I don't remember it. And Bear Down Adam goes on to say, I hate heights. I'm with you, dude. I don't like, look, I have a fear of things, but I just do them anyway. Like, I don't like to fly on airplanes, but I do it, you know? So I don't know. Fear is just like, whatever. I just set it aside. You got to learn to face your fear. Fear is the mind killer. That I'll tell you that mantra from Dune, like I learned when I was like 14 and very useful in real life. Let's switch gears here. So, I got to say, Diano gifted 5 Film Threat memberships.
Oh,
that's great. 5 Film Threat memberships. Check out the members area. There's all sorts of like social posts and videos from Comic-Con. There's going to be videos from Alan's adventures at the CineQuest Film Festival next week. He's going on Friday. So it's going to be an interesting week next week. So Wednesday, we're going to talk She-Hulk. And I'm going to be driving to Vegas to go to the Friday Night Tights meetup. So I'm going to the FNT. I'm literally driving to Vegas for the meetup, and I'm driving right back. That's it.
What day is that?
Going with a buddy of mine. That's Wednesday. So Alan, you're going to be doing the stream, and I'll be driving. Well, my friend will be driving.
Yeah.
And then you are going to CineQuest Friday. I'll be in the chair, and you're going to be at the CineQuest Film Festival. But the point is that our members get exclusive content that we just don't post on the channel, videos, pictures, and whatnot. And we're going to be doing member streams as well. So thank you, Deanno, for gifting those memberships. Let's switch gears here. And we're going to talk about Dragon Ball Superhero. Okay. What's interesting about this, I have to preface it with a couple things. One, I did go to the premiere of it, which was a fan screening premiere. Okay. And they just brought in fans. I mean, kudos to Crunchyroll, owned by Sony, that did this screening at the Academy Museum. The Academy Museum is at Wilshire and Fairfax. They just opened it. It's next to LACMA, and it's a museum dedicated to movies and all things. They have like a replica of Bruce the Shark when you go up the escalator. It's really cool. It's like if you're a movie geek, the Academy Museum is pretty awesome. So they've got this amazing new theater. It's called the David Geffen Theater in this dome, this bald dome.
It's a ball. It's not a dome. It's a ball.
It's not a dome. It's a ball. It's literally, it looks like the Death Star. I'm going to post pictures in the members exclusives, but I took a bunch of pictures there. I'll post those. But I also did a video for members just to show what it was like. So I uploaded it. Let's check out this video. This is before I'm going to render my opinion on the movie, but this is what it was like to be at there. There was like a little after party, but what real kudos to Crunchyroll, they invited fans. Like I would say 90+% of the audience were just fans of Dragon Ball or fans of anime, or were invited by Crunchyroll. You could get free tickets to go to this, right? So it wasn't one of those like premiere screenings where it's like all VIPs and actors and this. I mean, there was some of that there. The biggest actor I saw there was Byron Allen. And no one knows who that is, but I know who Byron Allen is. Anyways, this is what it was like to be at the after party at the Academy Museum. This was an after party for Dragon Ball Superhero. We just got out of a screening of Dragon Ball superhero, and I don't know, I really love this movie. I think it's going to be a huge hit, honestly. Like, audiences for anime are just like booming, and this is getting wide release in theaters, Crunchyroll. I got a feeling this is going to be kind of big. So I'm just, I'm eating anti-hype right now. So it was a fun, they had sushi there. It was fun. I don't know if you saw in the one shot I zoomed in, there was a guy dressed as Piccolo, the character in the green version of Piccolo. So
I did see the guy in the mask though. The one guy wearing the mask.
It was cool to see it with an audience of anime. Now let me preface this that my introduction to anime was I saw Legend of the Overfiend. This is in the 80s. Now don't look that up. It is your garden variety hentai. It's sort of hentai meets Akira. Then I saw Akira in the 90s, and because that actually got a theatrical release, limited in the United States. I saw that film, we covered it in Film Threat, and we were all blown away. And then I've gotten onto series like Attack on Titan. I've seen the live action, the 2-film series Attack on Titan. So I have limited knowledge of anime, and I am well aware of Dragon Ball, right? Like, seen the comics, I've seen the show. Have I sat and watched an entire episode? I have not. So I am completely unfamiliar with the world of Dragon Ball. Okay. I'm coming in as a novice. I don't know anything except that they fight and that there are dragons. So I'm literally going into this movie completely devoid of any knowledge. Okay. So I went in, and it's incredibly entertaining. Like, I get it now. Because Dragon Ball is this mix of these fighting characters that have these powers that get amplified, right? They can kind of charge themselves up with their powers, okay? But what they do is, it's also got this bizarre sense of humor. It has such a great non sequitur, random sense of humor. So there's like cataclysmic, possibly world-ending events. And in the midst of that, there's little jokes. So I love that kind of like salted caramel mix of like, well, these things shouldn't really go together, but it totally works. And it mainly follows Piccolo through like these villains that are trying to create superheroes that end up being kind of like supervillains, and they're fighting. I don't want to go too much into the story aspects because the movie doesn't open until the 19th. So this is kind of just an early reaction. But I have to say, I loved it because the way they introduced each of the characters is really funny. There's this grandson of a professor. They kind of give this little quick history of Dragon Ball in the beginning. And then there's this little short kid who's like the grandson who invents these. He wants to make superheroes, but these criminals want him to make super villains. It's all sort of ridiculous and over the top if you think about it. And Piccolo kind of infiltrates, and kind of checks out what they're doing. And it's all, of course, some mastermind evil plan to create a giant creature that's just going to murder everybody. All chaos at the end. Last third of the last almost half of the movie is one fight scene. Almost the last half, or at least the last third. It's an hour and 40 minutes. It flies by. And I just say, as a noob, I am a noob. I don't know anything about Dragon Ball. Freaking loved it. It's this incredible experience. I plan to see it again. I did see the English dubbed version, which was not my choice. My choice when watching pretty much anything that's, from overseas, whether it's anime or whatever, I prefer the subtitled versions. So it wasn't my choice. That's what they showed us. But I have to say the acting was really good. The acting in it was so good. And I was like, I just sat here with this revelation. Like, I'm really having fun. This is so over the top, and the characters are so endearing, and they're all flawed in their own ways. All the characters are flawed. there's this, you sort of awaken a dragon. You can ask for wishes. You can ask for things to happen. And, character awakens a dragon. One asks for like powers. And this woman, I don't know all the characters. I'm sorry. Trust me. I'm going to do my homework. And make sure. But Piccolo was the one I really liked the most. But this one character asked like to have a better butt, like she had in college. And it's just ridiculous. It's like they're delivering these lines and I'm like, wait, what? But it's funny. The whole audience is laughing. I mean, it's like, so I have to say I'm a convert. I really loved it. I am surprised how much I loved it. I thought, well, this will just be okay. Okay. It's not just okay. It's super fun. But I actually talked to the guy who was dressed as Piccolo, who was at the party. And I'm like, dude, great makeup, whatever. Like I got a picture with him. Then I asked him, I'm like, so you're a super fan of Dragon Ball. This is my first experience seeing anything Dragon Ball. I really loved it. And he told me that it was like because he's a super fan, right? He's seen everything. And he was telling me that it's a good entry level movie. Like if you've never seen anything Dragon Ball, this is a good place to enter, right? But if you know all the history, I feel like that could almost burden you seeing Dragon Ball Superhero. But I'm really impressed with the fact that it was just so accessible. And they don't burden you too much with the history. I feel like if you know a lot of the characters' backstories, and my understanding is that the way the characters are named, like some of the characters are named after musical instruments like Piccolo, and some of the other characters are named after foods. Like what's the character that's named after the Japanese word for rice? Somebody in the chat is going to know.
You're asking the wrong guy on this one.
Anyways, I just, my apologies. But then they have these like sort of two, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 are these like characters that are created. They're androids that have superpowers. They're supposed to be superheroes, but they're like villains. And they're really charming. Also, the other thing, I don't want to, no spoilers, obviously, but characters meet their end. There are stakes in this. And I didn't expect that either. I thought, oh, it's all just wrapped up the end. Like, no, characters meet their end. So that's maybe a warning and a heads up. No, I'm serious. Like and then there are character arcs with this little girl. She's like 3 years old. The daughter of, is it Son Goku? I'm going to get a sheet next week for a more extensive review. Yellow Flash hates me now. Yellow Flash hates me for being such a Dragon Ball. I'm not a Dragon Ball expert. But God, I really love, and I was like sitting here surprised. Every character has a payoff, right? So like they'll set something up of like this thing that a character is struggling with, a problem, and it like pays off in a really interesting, fun way. I didn't expect it.
So did that fan like the movie, or is this kind of a zero issue?
No, he did like the movie, but I feel like it's like, okay, if you're a noob like me, like I feel like someone that isn't familiar with Dragon Ball may like not want to go see it. Like, oh, I don't want to go see it. It's like, I haven't watched I haven't watched anything. Mm-hmm. I seriously haven't watched an episode of the series or seen any of the previous movies. I haven't at all. And I walked in cold and I loved it. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe I loved it. Like, as much as I did. And I bought a buddy of mine, and he's like no familiarity. And he was like, it was hilarious. It was really funny. Like it was just, I don't know, just, and also the fights when they get into and the other thing they do is they do a mix of 2D and 3D animation that's really well done. They don't overuse it. It's just like it makes it more real. Like there'll be cars driving and you're kind of like the camera's kind of spinning around. They'll do like super close-ups of certain things. And I don't know. There's so much good detail, the attention to detail in this, the sort of throwaway background jokes. Like it was just great. But I feel like also if you are familiar with Dragon Ball and you do know the history, you're going to get more out of it than I got. But as a noob coming in, I loved it. And I'm surprised that I did, because I did not expect to love this film. Now, what's interesting about it is, let's say Yellow Flash 2, lol, there are no stakes. Dragon Balls can bring them back to life over and over. Well,
like every franchise in the world.
Can I just say, though, doesn't happen in this movie. Doesn't happen in this movie. So, but they do kind of like recharge. But it's like that's the same thing with in anything in science fiction or genre stuff. Nobody's ever really gone, right? Like as soon as someone dies, they come back as a Force ghost or in a dream, like Han Solo in The Rise of Skywalker, objectively the worst Star Wars movie ever made. I had to make sure. Wait, I would have come on for this review. Well, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. Well, why don't? All right. Well,
seen it? I mean, that's the.
No, Yellow Flash has seen it.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, I wish I know. Okay, we could do that next week. We've got all these other movies to review, and well, should I bring you on Yellow Flash? Look, I got to go into my. All right, I'm just gonna. Okay, let's bring on Yellow Flash here.
So are you?
My Twitter.
Does this motivate you to go into the series to actually watch the show?
Yeah, it does now. Like I hadn't considered that. And now, yeah, I'm gonna invite on Yellow Flash here. I gotta send him a.
I mean, my daughter is into anime, but she's not into Dragon Ball Z.
Really?
Yeah, and
I think she would love it. Oh, now the other thing is, I got to give credit to Crunchyroll. It's getting a big theatrical release next week on the 19th, and you can see the subbed version, the subtitles version. Okay, yeah, Yellow Flash. We'll have you come on next Friday. Next Friday, Yellow Flash. Thank you. All right, Yellow Flash is our guest next Friday. Thank you. And we'll take a deeper dive into it. But what I do love is if you go, you can get tickets right now on AMC or whatever. You can buy tickets. You make sure you look dubbed or, subbed. Mm-hmm. And it very explicitly says. So I did see the dubbed and I expected dub stuff is crap. And it wasn't. They really put a lot of effort into the voice acting. So
if you ever want to do something fun, go watch your favorite anime dubbed, but then have the subtitles go along with it. And you'll see the difference between the actual dialogue and the dub dialogue.
I always do that anyways. I'll put on in particular with films from over I'll put it on for like Game of Thrones. When I was watching Game of Thrones back in the day, I would put on the closed captioning because you learn so much. You learn like minor characters, what their names are, right? Like a minor character would walk in a room and you'd see like this character, what they said. So, but Yellow Flash, it's a date next Friday. You're coming on the stream to talk about Dragon Ball Superhero, and I appreciate it. Although Yellow Flash, you have like a way bigger channel. You get way more people watching you than myself, but I appreciate the opportunity for Yellow Flash to school me. Yellow Flash is going to school me on D-ball, which sounds like something dirty that I just said. And I'm sure we'll talk about other stuff too, because I watch Yellow Flash has this show on Saturday nights that I'll throw on in the background, and just I love the show. It's just people talking shit. It's just people talking shit on a Saturday night. And it's an awesome show. So just subscribe to Yellow Flash's channel if you're not familiar with it. So that's Tuesday night's main event is really good. FNT and Yellow Flash's Saturday night show. These are shows where just people talk shit, and I love it. It reminds me of like conversations I would have at like comic book stores or video stores with friends. You kind of just go there and you just sort of like are like talking to you. How could you like that movie? That's stupid. That's Oliver Stone's worst movie. You idiot. The best Star Trek is blah, blah. And you just sort of yell at each other. And that's what all these shows are. Because that's just how I am. I like to talk shit like that. Let's go to our comments here from people here. Yellow Flash 2 says, I love that they finally gave the Japanese version a theatrical release. I hate the dub. Yeah, so you can see it with the subtitles, which I think is awesome. Paul Fisher says, anime is my new go-to for entertainment. Oh, yeah, I don't think I need to say there's nothing woke about this at all, like zero.
Yeah.
There is right now, it's not even like if a mainstream, although I will say this, for Fall, the movie we just talked about, Fall, there's nothing woke in that either.
No woke, yeah.
There's nothing woke. It's weird how you have to say it now for every movie we talk about. Well, every movie we talk about now, Alan, we have to say, well.
Yeah, but you also have to make that distinction. Just because it stars two women doesn't necessarily make it woke. It's the messaging. It's injecting a message to irk half the country off. That's
well. Here's the thing, and I because I've a lot of people have been discussing the movie Prey, right? And people are in two minds about it. It's like, yeah, the action's pretty cool and weird, but it's like it's it's women power. What I don't mind films that have an aspect of female empowerment. I think there's nothing wrong with that. What I object to is the emasculation of men as the only way to make a woman powerful is if you take power away from a man. That's the thing I object to. So it's a distinction, right? Like, why did we love characters like Ripley, right? Ripley from the Alien franchise, in particular in the first film. She was the smartest one. That's why I think everybody really likes Ripley. And no one expects her to be, you expect Captain Dallas to be the hero, right? He's the captain of the ship. You know, we've seen many TV shows and movies where the captain is the hero, Captain Kirk, Captain James T. Kirk. And so killing him off like mid-movie or taking him away, he's not really killed off. Taking him away, if you watch the extended cut or the deleted scenes or read the movie novelization as I did when I was a kid, that's my comic book guy nerd voice. Yeah, so that's what I really object to. Yellow Flash 2, Red Letter Media made a good point. Arnold couldn't hurt the Predator either. I liked Prey a lot. I did not expect to like Prey, but it's like now I feel like maybe we're kind of like tuned to be a little knee jerk to anything now because everything has been so politicized. Everything is so politicized that like we're just like waiting for the message, even whether it's intended or not, right? Like I think there's nothing woke in Fall. There's zero in drag. There tends to be zero in anime anyways. I can't think of like the only two things that have been unaffected by wokeness are anime and pornography. Now,
I think pornography is next.
If adult films start to get woke, can you imagine like woke porn?
A woke porno, yeah.
Woke porn. Put hashtag woke porn in the chat.
Well, the first half hour would be a discussion of consent.
I want to hear like premises for woke porn. I think that would be because it really is unaffected, right? Like these are the kind of only two areas. Comic books is completely taken. I can't remember the last time I bought. Well, I do remember the last time I bought a comic was from Eric July, his Isam comic. I bought that. Gonna get my copy soon, so I cannot wait.
I will say the wokeness in Prey is just the idea of, you know, your lead is a marginalized character and she just has to fight her marginalization as opposed to being a character that has a growth and arc. And you know, it's like you see the character, you know, there's only one person who's going to survive in this movie, and there's one reason she survives, and it's because, you know, she's a marginalized character.
Right. Yeah. You can't kill her. You know, she has plot armor, as they say.
And you know who's going to die all the way throughout the movie.
It kind of projects it. Someone else, I forget, it was another stream. So my apologies for not remembering who brought this up. Someone said Prey might have been better if she was not a hunter. She just had the traditional gender role of a young squaw, which I just learned the term squaw is derogatory, even though I heard this on Tuesday night's main event, they got shit for using the term squaw in a review. That's a term I've heard for years. It's in Peter Pan.
Yeah, it's derogatory because white people have used that term too much. That's essentially
because white people did it. It's bad. Yeah. This is now the barometer.
The white person term.
Yeah, exactly. It's I don't know. I'm so sick of those annoying people.
I feel bad for you people.
Yes, you should. You should feel. I feel marginalized.
It's about time.
Yeah, it's about time. It's just, I always say, like, when it comes to progressive nonsense, I always say to myself, like, do you want progress or revenge? Because it sounds like you just want revenge. Seriously. Like, I want all of us to move ahead and move past bullshit from the past. And I think for the most part, people have. But
I mean,
I don't
I've
know.
always wanted to use, my race and my, all that other stuff to shame people, but I ultimately I realize I have morals and character, which prevents me from doing that.
And this is why you're still on the show, Alan. CD Stein 69 says, can honestly say I'm old enough to know who Byron Allen is. And my anime started with Robotech as a kid.
Yeah, do you remember Real People? I
do remember. I do remember that show. But also, I did watch anime as a kid. But my anime was like, Kimba, stuff like Kimba. Remember Kimba the White Lion or Battle of the Planets?
Yeah, I will say Robotech was my first anime series and my last. I was a big fan of Robotech.
So cool. Well, thank you. And CD Stein 69 is a member. Trav 101, film threat. Can a newbie watch it without having to watch the show? I believe I answered that question. The answer is yes. And I'm surprised at that. They do give you like this little explainer at the beginning to kind of set it up, but it doesn't go into the deep lore. That's what Yellow Flash is going to give us next week. And there's 250 people watching. Slap that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed. And here's your reminder right here. Oh, wow. That's a little reminder. And just if you stick with us, you get gems like this.
Finish him.
Oh, my jeans. That was actually me falling on a TV show, looking like a complete idiot. All right, let's keep going. Flaccid Phoenix asks, hey, Flaccid Phoenix is a member. He's also our mod and producer on this show. Give his channel a sub. He's got a great, some great content on there, in particular, a review of RRR, which, by the way, that they just did an honest trailers on RRR. That's when you know you've made it. Here it is August, and people are just now discovering RRR. Saw it in the theaters in March. Been screaming about this film. And everyone out there, you got to Yellow Flash, CRRR. If you have Netflix, actually the Netflix version is not the great version. That's the Hindi version. You have to see the theatrical version, which is the version in Telugu. So there's my nerd stuff. Flaccid Venus says, how can you enjoy this movie, Chris? There wasn't any white men in it. That's true. Not a lot of diversity. No, there's diversity. There's like orange. People are orange. People are green. There's all types of, they're young, old, men, women, creatures, the androids. There's a lot of diversity in Dragon Ball.
You'll never hear me say there's not enough white people in this movie.
Right. Oh my God. Son of the Red Fox is a member. Thank you for that. They do a good job with making the movies stand alone to a degree. Yeah, they did. Mm-hmm. I thought that I didn't like, I just got enough. Like, okay, I get it. They all have these bizarre powers and they like to fight.
Yeah. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I wasn't excited about or not, because I don't know the universe. And I feel like if I walk in, I'm going to be lost, but it sounds like I won't have that problem.
Peyton Bang says Dragon Ball still holds up. Great mix of silly, lighthearted, slightly pervy comedy with cool action that's not over the top. No, I'd say the action is over the top in a good way. And it in all the best ways, it's over the top. So I think that this should be the fact that I don't know anything about Dragon Ball, me coming in and loving it, I think says a lot. And so I really do want to hear. That's why we'll have Yellow Flash on next week, and he'll school us on that for those that are uninitiated. Federico Manuel de Villa, it's a really fun movie, man. I've seen it when it was released in Japan. Piccolo is the man. That's true. Piccolo was my favorite. Son of the Red Fox goes on to say, my biggest thing with the series was how much they repeated in content from episode to episode. There was such a slog. That happens. Yeah. That happens. The Luke Deckard Show. Chris, go watch Digimon. That's my favorite anime. Also, I stand by what I said. It's my favorite. All right, Digimon. I am familiar with Digimon. That was sort of the Pokemon knockoff. Son of the Red Fox goes on to say, Chris, I always love the movies because even though they aren't typically canon, the format and characteristics of feature DVD film force them to tighten the story up and focus the action. Yeah, nothing is dragged out. There's nothing dragged out about it. So
yeah, it doesn't feel like they're stringing episodes together to make
no, not at all. So John Manalang, who's a member, thank you. Minato is the man indeed, next to Itachi. Hell yeah. Amanda Nowicki, dyslexia prevents me from fully enjoying subbed films.
Yeah.
It might make it more interesting.
Yeah. I have a hack for that, actually.
Piccolo could be Piccolo. Oh, yeah. Actually, Alan,
yeah,
I have a hack because you're dyslexic.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic. Here, let me just share my screen for a second. If you can see that my font here it's called Dyslexy, and it's a font for dyslexics to help you read better. And I found that if you watch something on your computer, the Dyslexy font will take care of the subtitles on the computer. And so I've actually been watching a few movies that way.
Oh, Amanda, try that hack. So what is it called again?
It's called Dyslexy.
Dyslexy. It's a font that helps with dyslexia. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I had to use the Chrome extension in order to do that. So, which is $3 a month.
Fletcher Williams says Chris gets schooled on D-ball. Big thumbs up. Thank you, Fletcher. And Yellow Flash too. Yeah, the actress for Prey didn't help the film. She was saying a lot of stupid stuff in interviews that made Prey sound bad. Did they not? First of all, Yellow Flash, thank you for your comment. And I will say, actors, they need to go through some sort of media training. You're not changing the world with your TV show or movie. You're not. Okay. You're just not. You're not a gateway to because I do think that acting is kind of, I mean, even like when I was doing TV stuff, I felt stupid at times. Like people kind of fawn over you, like what you're doing is important. And I never thought that. I was just like, I felt almost embarrassed because sometimes like at G4, they'd put me in a dressing room and they'd put my name. This is not, they would do this. They put your name in a little printout with a star graphic and they put it on a door. And that's my room. Don't go to my room. That's Chris Gore's room. And I always felt like awkward about it. Like, I just want to hang out with everybody. I don't want to go in my room by myself and stay. No, I would go out on the set and just hang with everybody. So, yeah, there's a weird thing where actors, they're being told told by their manager and their publicist and the studio how great they are. And they're given gift bags and sent flowers and given a crew gift at the end by the director and given a bubble. And they're treated like children. And so they say stupid shit. And what they really need to be schooled on is just like, focus on the story. You're not breaking boundaries.
I wonder if they're being told to be as woke as possible.
You think so?
I believe that there's this feeling that wokeness is the new language, and that you need to lean into it, and that we can easily solve the other end by calling them racist and everything, all the ists in the world. But
right.
I don't think people are intentionally stopping them. I think they're encouraging it.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre. It's like, are they being like schooled by studios to act this way? It seems very counterproductive, incredibly counterproductive.
Look at the Rings of Power. I'm the first female black dwarf ever in all of the history of cinema.
No. Alan, dwarf of color.
Dwarf of color. All of cinema. No one's stopping her from saying that. In fact, I think someone had to have told her, someone ignorant had to have told her that fact. And, and they leaned into it and they made this the pitch.
I just think that this whole issue, it's obsession. It's a bizarre obsession of a small percentage of people, and no one else cares. And people like you and I remember, they're acting like they discovered diversity in entertainment. And also, no one ever cared. I didn't care when I was watching Johnny Sacco and his giant robot that I didn't see myself in that show. Because all Asian, same thing for Ultraman, all Asian cast, all Asian. I have no expectation that it should be diverse because I don't give a shit. Also, if I see a film in India, I don't care if there are no white people in it. I don't care. No one cares. Stop obsessing over this shit.
Well, I will say, if you were with my family watching TV shows and an Asian showed up, there would be applause.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, look, everything I've ever consumed in my childhood was white people. And just to see someone who was like you on the screen, it was like, whew, there you go.
Well,
but now it's become a political issue, and that's the problem I have with it.
can I just say, Alan, on behalf of all white people that I represent, to your family, you're welcome for all the entertainment we provided you.
Yeah, Chris, you're one of the good ones. Thank you.
Although it was weird, like when I would watch like Toho movies back in the day, and they would throw in like a Nick Adams or like a Russ Tamblyn.
Or how did Raymond Burr get into Godzilla?
Well, okay, you know the story behind it.
Yeah, I know the story, yeah.
I mean, it was just when United Artists brought that movie to the US, they're like, we can't release a movie with no white people in it. All Asian people? This is ridiculous. So they reshot Raymond, and they inserted Raymond Burr as a reporter from America reporting on, Godzilla destroying Japan.
Well, I mean, Power Rangers. That's
and they even inserted Raymond Burr into scenes where he wasn't in and had him talking to the Asian characters. Mm-hmm. What's funny is I didn't notice it as a kid. It's really noticeable now. You notice like the film stock is different. It's different cinematographer. They did not match it well. And what's the character's name? What's Raymond Burr's character's name in Godzilla?
Oh, I forgot. I bet it's like John White or something.
It's Steve Martin.
Steve Martin. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Reporter Steve Martin. It's so dumb. And
then when he pulls out a banjo and a arrow.
Yeah. VDR says, was Alan a fan of Kato on the Green Hornet?
I mean, Bruce Lee. Come on.
First of all, Bruce Lee is a freaking bad. I loved Bruce Lee when I was a kid. I love Enter the Dragon. I saw in a movie theater. I mean, I was little. I freaking love that movie. So good. Like Bruce Lee had like, there's a documentary. There's a documentary that you need to see. It's called Be Like Water.
Yeah.
And
that's a great
all about his philosophy. Great documentary about Bruce Lee. I mean, what he endured to come to the United States, to open a school, to teach not only like star in shows, but teach martial arts. He really is like someone to look up to.
Yeah, that final Hitman movie,
what
I mean, it has a character Bruce Lee in it, and
right.
It's just how much we behold. This is the guy who broke into American cinema, and nothing but respect for Bruce Lee.
His life story is amazing, and the tragedy of his son Brandon Lee with The Crow is horrific. But what a legacy! We're still talking about Bruce Lee. I also read his biography, and I forget the title of the biography. So I read a book about Bruce Lee, saw the doc, loved his films. Game of Death is kind of sad, though. You ever seen Game of Death? That's the movie he died in the middle of the movie. So they had like this double play Bruce Lee. And then what they did was they put Bruce Lee's face, literally took a still of Bruce Lee's face and put it over the actor's face for shots. It looks terrible. But look up Game of Death. It has a great fight scene with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's like so tall. You see Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee, of course, takes him out. It's great. More comments here. Zio Reimer says, I haven't seen a successful Filipino actor in American shows yet. Oh, really? The guy who plays Ned, forget the name of the actor. Alan, please look it up. The guy who plays Ned in the Spider-Man Home series.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who plays Ned, there's a TV show actually on NBC where he's the star. Can you just look up the actor who plays Ned and look on his profile? It's I believe it's coming out this fall. They were promoting it actually at San Diego Comic-Con. I only know this because I walked by, like NBC had some outdoor activation. I walked by it and there's Ned and he's in a TV show.
Yeah. Okay. So, let me scroll down here.
So check it out.
Reginald the Vampire.
But he's starring in a show. All right, we're gonna move on. Yeah. You're free to look that up.
I mean, there's certainly a lot of great Filipino actors who've been in movies. Dante Basco, Lou Diamond Phillips.
But I think at
Easter
some
Sunday's
point,
out now.
I was actually joking on the Nerdrotic Nooner I was on with Gary Beekler. I do that on Wednesday. Well, it's morning for me. It's noon for him. It's noon in Texas. But it's 10 a.m. for me, and I just Gary lets me not be on camera, so I can just be on my couch, kind of half answering my email and doing my normal morning bullshit. while Gary's like chatting away and I chime in with my opinion. But I jokingly said at some point, you're going to be able to get a plugin or an app and you can choose the ethnicity of the characters in your TV and movies. So you can watch Star Wars. You could just make all the actors black or all Asian. No, I'm serious. And you know what I thought about doing? This would be funny. This would be like a Borat, not a Borat, but like the actor who plays Borat when he had that show and he would goof on people.
Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen.
Sacha Baron Cohen could do a thing where he goes to the Bay Area, he goes to Silicon Valley, and he's raising money for an app that allows you to take your favorite movies and TV shows and change the race of all the characters. So you can rewatch Star Wars in the race of your preference so that you can see yourself in the show. So whenever people say that, I finally see, I feel like one, you have a very lame, you have a media diet that doesn't have a lot of variety. Because I grew up watching a lot of foreign films and indie movies and just a lot of different movies, right? So I never thought I was missing anything. And I was discovering things constantly, right? I was just obsessed, wanting to go down rabbit holes of Toho monster movies or TV shows and whatnot.
But to that point, everything I've consumed my entire life has been predominantly white people. And again, just to see someone of Asian descent, of Chinese descent, whatever, we notice it, and we're more inclined to like it because it happened, So yeah, it's kind of nice to see people who look like you.
But I do feel like you're being pandered to, Alan.
Sometimes. I would say 80% of the time, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works.
And sometimes it's just organic, and like right. Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon in The Batman was like he's a really good actor.
Yeah.
Right. That was a case of like, I don't know that James Gordon's ethnicity is really relevant or whatever. I mean, I think that race swaps are just lazy and stupid. Stupid, and pandering. What I don't like is the erasure of people with red hair. Yeah. I mean, that is like, it's like almost in every case, it's always they replace with a black actor, which I just think is like, there are so many amazing like black characters that are just like underutilized, or create an original character like Isam, right? Eric
I'll give you the best example. When Disney put out the animated Mulan, I mean, that was a big deal for we Asians, we Chinese, and because they took one of our stories and made a Disney tale out of it, and it was great. I don't know any Chinese or Asians who really disliked the animated version, and I like the fact that they did tell one of our stories versus taking an American story or a European Western story and then just start injecting Asians into the characters and swapping things out. I think that's where the problem comes in.
Well, I think that you should, because I believe, and I've said this before, if you've heard this before, you've heard me say it, all storytelling, all fiction is your opportunity to see the world through someone else's eyes, right? So it shouldn't matter. Like when I watched Johnny Sacco and his giant robot, I didn't need to look like the person I identified with, with the lead character, Johnny Sacco. I wanted to have a watch where I could tell a giant robot to beat the crap out of monsters. I wanted that watch. I wonder if they make that as a prop replica. I know they make, you know what I saw at San Diego Comic-Con, they make a prop replica of Hayata's the little capsule where he turns into Ultraman. It was like $400 for this little BS. I found a cheaper one.
It's a silver vibrating thing.
It looks like a thing. It's a large chapstick, is what it is, or a glue stick. It looks like lame. Way too much money for that. But Hayata, I identify with who the protagonist is. They don't need to look like me. And I kind of feel like it's a little sense of narcissism that everyone needs to look like you. No, it's an opportunity to see the world through the eyes of someone else. For example, Ripley, she's the protagonist. It's a thing that is overemphasized and overplayed.
Yeah, I just saw a documentary about basically racism in the world and Africa. But one of the points they made was, you go to the continent of Africa, there are thousands upon thousands of stories that have never been told. And for some reason, Hollywood doesn't want to go there and tell one of those stories.
They don't. What they want to do is they take a character created by a white creator, and then they just race swap. And I just think it's so pandering. Like, it's like throwing a crumb. It's throwing a crumb. Long Beach Griffey has a really good video about this. Look up Long Beach Griffey Little Mermaid. Watch that video. Not now, later. Put it on your list. Put it in your history. I do that all the time. I just put stuff on my history. That's my watch list, is my history. And also, by the way, Flaccid Phoenix reminded me, it's Flashcast. So these are the shows, if you like to watch nerds talking shit, you've got Tuesday night's main event, FNT Friday Night Tights, and Flashcast on Saturdays. I try to catch all of those. I don't always, just because I got stuff going on. Solomon Thornton says Goku and Dragon Ball is based off Bruce Lee. I don't know if I said that. John Manilang, a member, thank you. Yeah, Ned is Filipino. There was an entire scene in No Way Home with his grandma even speaking Tagalog. Yeah, no, that was great. I
love that scene.
That's a charming scene with Andrew Garfield. I love that scene.
Yeah, and and to the point though, I think the complaint was about Filipino lead television. I know, we have lots of examples of movies, but television is the same thing. It's
But when you start doing that checklist, it gets just exhausting. Like, we need this representation. Like, are we just gonna just like do everything? We're just gonna redo everything with just like, and just swap out the gender and race and just like, we'll just redo everything.
Yeah. Well, I think the world will implode when they do that with Friends.
Well, also, who cares? Although the thing, here's what bugged me about Friends was not the diversity, is the fact that how are their apartments so huge? I've been to New York. I've had friends that live in New York. Everyone lives in a fucking shoebox. That was like, yeah, I refuse to live like that.
And those apartments only have 3 walls.
Yeah, they literally were just these tiny, tiny nothing places. Peyton Banks says, Eric July says that all the time. People only find legitimacy in white characters, and which is a stupid thing to think. When I grew up, most of my inspirations and heroes weren't white. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Michael Jordan, Eddie Murphy. True. Like, as if they're not heroes.
Yeah, and they worked their asses
off. Look up to.
They worked their asses off to get where they were. No one gave them the opportunity. No one felt pity on them and gave them an opportunity.
Yeah. CD Stein 69 for $4.99. If you're new to Dragon Ball, I cannot stress enough. Do not watch the live action if you want to like it. Oh, I didn't even know there was a live action Dragon Ball. That sounds terrible. I will not watch that. VDR says race swapping someone like Gordon has unintended domino effect. Okay. You'd have to make Barbara Gordon black as well. This happened in Flash when he made Iris West black. Wally ends up having to be black.
It worked in Fantastic Four. I don't understand that.
Oh my God, that Fantastic Four was so dumb. They never explain it. Are they like, is she adopted?
I think so. I think she was adopted.
That was dumb. I like Michael B. Jordan as an actor. Whatever. Roger Corman. That Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie is going to end up being the best one because it's the most accurate to the Kirby Lee. So, Jinx, I don't go to a restaurant and ask whether the chef is my race. I don't ask for a same race heart surgeon when I'm having a heart attack. Why is this only in Hollywood industry? That's true. Okay. It's weird. There's an obsession. What I do think it is, it's all about virtue signaling. It's all about this sort of insane virtue signaling that Hollywood because look, ultimately what Hollywood makes doesn't matter. There's a famous story of a studio executive who was just tired of everything being an emergency, something involving a star having a tantrum, emergency. So this is the emergency. This is like everyone just like freaking out over everything. Everything is so important. He finally put, I believe it was one of the presidents of Sony, put a banner above his desk that said, relax. We make shit people don't need. Remember this, Hollywood. We make shit people don't need. Hollywood makes shit you don't need. You need food. You need shelter. You need a home or place to rent. Shelter, food. You need family. There's so many more things you need more than entertainment. And the first thing that's going to be cut out of your budget because of this god-awful inflation
is your entertainment.
The first thing you need to cut is your entertainment.
Yeah.
That's why you're seeing things like Peacock flatline. They neither gained nor lost subs this past quarter.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Okay.
Hey,
Let me speak to Jinx's comment here. I don't go to a restaurant and ask the chef whether the chef is my race. Clearly, you've never been to P.F. Chang's. And I'll just
there you go.
Yeah.
You know what I like is I'll go to me if I want some good like Mexican food or Chinese food, I go somewhere where they don't speak my language. Like one of my favorite Mexican restaurants it's in Pasadena's Los Amigos. Great happy hour, amazing margaritas there. They speak enough English to serve you a margarita.
Yeah.
Salt? Yes, salt. Salt on the rim.
Yeah, when I go to LA and want Chinese food, I avoid Chinese restaurants with a big A in the window. I look for B's or C's because it's not authentic.
Yeah, no, just like it's all. I like I think this is what people like. This is why YouTube is successful. People like authenticity. Hollywood is not about delivering you authenticity. Okay, and Zio Reimer, we need film threat for 20. Thank you, Zio Reimer. Because look, this is why people are going to be canceling their subscription services. They're just going to outright be canceling them. So there you go. And Solomon Thornton says, I'm a black man and I relate to characters like Peter Parker and Luke Skywalker. Both are characters that have to overcome their struggles to succeed. Exactly.
Yeah. And
I relate to characters like I don't know. I actually like the Miles Morales Spider-Man because he's not Peter Parker. He's Miles Morales, a different thing, different origin, different. I like the concept. Different, yeah. I like that. So, look, I like.
And he had a story unto himself. His situation.
Exactly, Lando Calrissian, freaking badass. Or I'll give you a character, Ben, from the original 1968 Night of the Living Dead. Okay, Ben, that actor. I believe the actor's name is Dwayne Jones. He was I believe a college professor at the time, and George Romero cast him. He wrote the script, Night of the Living Dead, right? Ghouls and zombies. It was a monster movie, right? It's really the zombie movie that created the rules that we abide by today. You got to shoot a zombie in the head, okay? So the original 1968 Night of the Living Dead wrote the script. When he was auditioning actors, Dwayne Jones happened to be the best actor playing Ben, right? He's the black lead of Night of the Living Dead. He befriends Barbara. Remember? They're coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming to get the sort of, asshole brother teasing the sister. Johnny was his name. Anyways, so Ben is the smartest guy. He's the guy that you're with. He's the guy, and race is never brought up. And they asked George Romero, the crew is like, hey, are you going to rewrite the script? Because you're casting, this black actor in the lead now. Are you going to rewrite the script? He said, no, he refused. Now, race is never brought up in the film, but there is sort of this undercurrent of there's a little bit, especially towards the end, right? The ending of that movie, which is really tragic. And it's just beneath the surface. And I like that. Just beneath the surface, but it's not overt. And they never promoted Night of the Living Dead as, look at how progressive we are. We have a black actor in the lead. Not promoted that way. Now, and I feel like when you call it out, you actually diminish any significance it may have had. You diminish it by pointing it out. It's kind of like when you do volunteer work and you feel like you need to tell everybody about it and take a selfie at the school that you helped build in Africa, which Vice just did an expose on that. It's total bullshit. They do these sort of like, these vacations where they take these rich white kids, they take them to Africa and they have them build a school, and ultimately they undo all the work and then they redo it correctly because they're completely useless morons. You're babysitting kids basically, and they just exploit kids in other countries to bring these vacationing rich white kids to feel good about themselves. Yeah. So I kind of feel that it's that virtue signaling. It's pointing it out. It's like, if you really cared about the cause, you would just go do it. You wouldn't tell people or send out a press release when you donate, money or whatever to a cause. You just support the cause. You support the cause through choices you make in your life. You support the cause by donating. You don't support the cause by pointing it out. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look a good thing I did. Fuck you to those people.
The problem with, let's talk about the Latina Batwoman. The whole idea behind it was we have a Latina Batwoman, and the most racist thing about it was they wrote a horrible story to basically diminish and to ruin the Latina Batwoman altogether.
Well, I don't know if they did that. I feel like it was just a bad movie. I feel like ultimately,
yeah, but if you're gonna have if you're gonna promote, we have the first Latina Batwoman, at least give her a great story to go behind it. And they wouldn't go as far as just the casting, basically.
Yes. I just think it was a bad movie and just a bad choice. Yeah. But thank you, Solomon Thornton, for that. And also,
sorry, Latinx Batwoman.
Oh God, I look. I have friends who are Latino. None of them like that term. 0 people. Why do they keep you? That's stupid. Some comments.
And you're saying the Philippines community is not behind
Latinx. John Menneling says, "Excuse me, Ellen. It is the Latinx Batwoman, sir."
Yes, I don't mean to offend my Philippines friend here.
Antoine Dennison for 5. Thank you for that. Guys, do you think there's any correlation between the Night of the Living Dead's success and the integration of issues we were dealing with in the 60s? I believe so. Yes, I believe, but it was this is what's always good about messages in movies when they're beneath the surface, right? You can see the movie go, oh, that was a really good zombie movie. You can also look at the ending of the sort of all the guys that were like the vigilante guys that were out. I feel like that was a little bit about that was about racial tension right there. And Ben's demise at the end of Night of the Living Dead. Rewatch that movie. I mean, some aspects of it may not hold up for you. I think it's a classic. I love Night of the Living Dead. God, as a kid, I had that movie on Super 8, the entire feature. And what used to show, I would show it in the backyard, my backyard, projected against my garage, and all the kids in the neighborhood would come out. We'd watch it and eat popcorn. But yeah, there were a lot of things, a lot of movies that were genre that touched on those issues. If you see this, the Planet of the Apes series definitely has messaging. In particular, the second Beneath the Planet of the Apes movie it's beneath the surface, so to speak, in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. But there's also shit there that's like crazy. You could connect to today, like the crazy cult of the people that live beneath the humans that are disfigured because they're around all the radiation and they worship the bomb. They make a religion out of worshiping a nuclear bomb. Go back and watch Beneath the Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston. And also you'll see that a lot of Hollywood's messaging was a lot more conservative back then as well. Flaccid Phoenix says, over 300 in the chat. Slap that like button, sub to Film Threat, and please share out the show. Yes, please. We appreciate it. And Cardinal Sin is here with $9.99 for a super sticker. Thank you for that. I'm going to be doing a show next week. I believe it's Tuesday, time TBD. But what I'll do is in the community tab on Film Thread, we're going to be doing a live show. It's Cardinal Sin show. It's a show. So I will promote on our channel the live stream that I'll be doing with Cardinal Sin. Very different things we'll be talking about than what I normally talk about on this. MK Solid 82. Chris, will Attack of the Doc be on streaming? And how can I get Film Threat merchandise? Well, it's very easy. You just go to shop.filmthreat.com. And as I am proud of saying, Film Threat t-shirts cure nudity on contact. That is absolutely true. So go to shop.filmthreat.com to get your Film Threat merch. As for Attack of the Doc, we are changing up our plan on that movie. I'm going to make an announcement on the social media. We've been invited to some film festivals. So it's going to push things a little bit in a good way. So we're going to be playing a bunch of film festivals in the fall. I'm not able to announce exactly what yet, but once I am, Attack of the Doc will be playing a bunch of film festivals across the country, probably even LA Comic-Con in December. Then we'll do a Blu-ray. It's a typical thing. Then we do a Blu-ray release, then a VOD release, video on demand, will be on like Vudu and iTunes and all that, and then streaming. But it's probably not going to come to streaming for probably a year. And my apologies for that, because it's just not going to come to streaming for a while. But it will be available. You'll be able to buy the movie. The Blu-ray is going to have a ton of extras. So thank you for asking that question, because it gives me a chance to promote. Dempsey is a member. Thank you for that. Big Trouble in Little China and The Last Dragon are some of my favorite movies. Those people don't look like me, and I don't need them to.
Although, to see Chinatown in your movie is a pretty cool thing.
All right, Alan.
I mean, like I said, my grandparents had a restaurant in Chinatown, and whenever it shows up in a movie, it's like, that movie is a great movie. Ant-Man, for one.
Yeah, Bill T became a YouTube member. Thank you for that, Bill T. And Turo is back. Turo, always good to see you. I have morals and character. Put plungers on my nipples. Alan Ing. Ask and you shall receive. Let's see, where's that video? Man, Alan, you are a talent. I have to say, definitely are talent. Forget it, Chris. It's Chinatown, says Scud X.
There was not enough Chinatown in Chinatown, I will say.
Well, I will say this, when it comes to Chinese food, the best Kung Pao chicken I've ever had in my life can be found in Chino Hills, California. At a place, it's just this little, in a strip mall. It's called Happy Kitchen. No one speaks English there. I mean, very broken English when I go in to pick up my Kung Pao chicken. And it's the best Kung Pao chicken I've ever had. I do think when you want authentic food, you go to a place where the people making it are of the ethnicity that is related to that food. Indian food, Mexican food, Chinese food, Japanese food. That's where you go. Don't go to a chain.
I'll tell you, one of the worst experiences I've ever had was at PF Chang's. So much so
was it really?
That we got $100 gift certificate to come back from
really? Because it was so bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about, we're going to review some other movies here.
Oh yeah, that was Dragon Ball Z, right?
That was our Dragon Ball Z review. Oh my God, that went on a long time. I'm so sorry for that. But let's get into this. Let's talk about Emily the Criminal. Emily the Criminal opens in theaters today. It stars Aubrey Plaza as a young woman who is just trying to work off her student loans. And she's doing grunt work, delivering food. She's just a food delivery person. She does little odd jobs here and there on the side, but she can barely make ends meet with paying off her student loans and just basically making rent. Yeah. She decides.
Let's also add that she's a felon.
Right.
She has a felony conviction, which also makes it more difficult.
She has a felony conviction. So she's going to job interviews, but the felony conviction always comes up. And people in these job interviews, they're going like, well, you got a felony conviction on your record. So she can't even get a decent job, a decent paying job to be able to address her student loans. She finally gets desperate and she has an opportunity to make $200 doing something quick. It's a quick job. She goes in, she gets this sort of instruction, right? You're going to go in. If you want to do this, it's a really good speech. I forget the actor's name, but he gives this speech where he's like, okay, this is real simple. You're going to walk in, you go and you buy this television with this credit card we're going to give you, and then you meet us in the parking lot, and that's it. It's 20 minutes, and you'll get $200 cash.
It's Theo Rossi, by the way.
Basically, what you're doing is you're going in using a fake credit card to purchase an expensive television, then meeting this crime ring in the parking lot, and they take the television. It's a fake credit card. You get $200. They get the TV. Simple job. Well, these jobs begin to escalate and become increasingly dangerous. This isn't one of those, typical like female empowerment movies where it's a turnoff. She gets her ass kicked. She gets beaten. She gets it's actually, and what's interesting about this, I love Aubrey Plaza as an actress. She's just, my problem with her is pretty much in anything she's in, she's Aubrey Plaza. So like Parks and Rec, she's Aubrey Plaza. She'll play another character in a TV show or a movie. She's that sort of awkward, there's sort of just comedy.
Sort of smart aleck, smart aleck.
Yeah, smarmy, smart aleck. This is not, none of that. Zero. She literally has like this Jersey accent. She's not, there's not a lot of humor in this movie at all. And it's gritty, it's dark. And what I really liked about it was this is the kind of movie they need to make, starring if they want to have like a female lead. This is the movie to make, because she like barely survives all these different. She finds that like you're working in a world of crime, you're gonna get your freaking ass kicked. She gets robbed and beaten and taken advantage of in horrific ways. And it's about her struggle to just sort of get ahead of this game that she's almost been forced into a life of crime because she can't get a decent job. Even though she has a degree, she made a mistake. She got this, this felony conviction on her record. And now she's just gonna make some easy money on the side. And each escalation of each job gets more and more dangerous. And it's not like, hey, she wins or she doesn't. What I do like is there are some fight scenes with her. Yeah. She's a frail girl. It goes exactly how you would think. You got a 250-pound thug going against, 120-pound Aubrey Plaza, or maybe less. I don't know how much she weighs. Is that an insult? I don't know.
What for giving her weight?
I don't know what her weight is. She's, whatever.
She's small.
She's small and frail woman, and that comes across. She doesn't win a lot of these confrontations, and she has to use she finally figures out she has to use her smarts, a different sort of, because she's not going to win when it comes to physical competition. And even then, she can be taken advantage of. I thought this was really good, different take on like an indie thriller. Aubrey Plaza is really good in it because she basically decided not to be the type of person that she normally is. And it's in theaters today in limited release. I really enjoyed this film, and I enjoyed it because it just broke that like women can do anything. It's like, no, they're going to get the shit kicked out of them just like the men. No, they're going to be taken advantage of and fucked with. No, they're going to lose. No, they're going to have bad things happen to them. You go into a life of crime like this, it's no easier. And there's a scene where she goes in basically to buy a car with basically a check. She's got like this cashier's check, and then she's going to put the rest on like an American Express black card, which is the highest level card you can get, is the black card. Okay. So she goes in, and it's just, that scene is so gut-wrenching, intense. This whole tension, like, will she be found out? What are the repercussions? What's going to happen? Like, and it just, what a cool, if you like crime thrillers that are great, this is really good. Alan, what did you think of Emily the Criminal?
Yeah, no, I really like this movie. And you brought up the main reason, Aubrey Plaza. She is not playing herself or her type on television, but she's probably playing a much different version of herself. And it's very dramatic. But, there are two aspects that I really liked about this movie. The first is just the idea, the theme of it, of, this life of crime that you can get yourself sucked into. And, it's like once you enter that door, fight as hard as you might, you're just going to go down and down deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole, and that's what this movie's about. And then you also brought up the other point I like about it. You know, she doesn't necessarily do, you know, you say that she gets beaten or she loses. She really doesn't. You know, there are points where it looks like she's going to lose. She's going to lose this fight, but she finds a way to do it, and in a way that her character could plausibly do it. And you know, I hate to say it, but I will because it's true. But she doesn't take necessarily the masculine role to get herself out of these jams. She does, you know, she does what women do when they're in that position and when they have, you know, when they're built basically like Aubrey Plaza. And there's a point at the end where she does sort of man up, and I do like the way that plays out ultimately in the end. And so I just found this movie fascinating. In fact, I think I like this. I kept thinking about Uncut Gems in its style and the way it looks, and I do like this much better than Uncut Gems.
Yeah, I really like this film. What she doesn't do, which is what I have found some women do in real life, and it's almost like it's in real life. This is, I have seen people use this as a manipulation tool. It's like a smart bomb in a video game. You know, when you're playing a shooter video game, and there are just way too many enemies on screen. And so you've got like one smart bomb, you press the button and the smart bomb blows up all the enemies. And then just, you know, it gets you into a safe place.
Or worse, she powers up. She never powers up, you know, she's sitting there waiting for the energy to build and then boom. No, she never does that either.
But the real life version of that is when a woman cries. This is a very sexist thing for me to say, and I'm aware that I'm saying it. But when a woman will cry, it's just like, well, then that's like a smart bomb in a video game. It's like, well, you just it's a tool, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying this is a horrible thing. Feel free to roast me in the chat or clip this to talk about what an awful person I am. But this is definitely, I've seen it used as a manipulation tool in perhaps a bad relationship from the past, is all I'll say is that I believe that crying can be used as a defense mechanism, as a smart bomb. It's a smart bomb. What do we call that? We need to come up with a name for this. People in the chat, what's a good name for the smart bomb, which is crime? I'm sure it can be used by men too. My guess is, but anyways, but
I'll say this.
Sure.
You know, I don't think you could ever say in this entire movie that her character was a victim, you know, or that she was playing against that victim card. You know, she was a woman who was put in a position where she had to fight her way out in order to find some kind of freedom in her life. But she never felt bad for herself, sorry for herself. She just had a goal. She knew where she wanted to go, and she went for it.
And what I like is there's also like sort of this running thread of her going to job interviews to try and like level herself up. And she finally pushes back in these job interviews. And it's a great scene because it's like, it's awesome. So let's see. So look, I recommend Emily the Criminal. And I think Uncut Gems is a really good, I liked Uncut Gems a little better, than this, but it's in that realm of like small time criminal, just trying to make a life. And you would think because it's a female lead that they're going to go a certain way, and they do not. It's gritty. She gets her ass kicked and she loses a lot in this, but
I don't know. She looks like she's gonna lose, but then she finds a way to win in the end.
Well, some of the time, not all the time.
Maybe one occasion that was true.
All right, Alan. Let's go to the comments here real quick. Pop says tear bomb. John Witchboy says cryop. Ooh, that's good. Zach McCarthy says a heart bomb. Yeah, it's you could say that. Womp Biscuit says true, Alan. So many people are born into poverty and crime, incredibly tough to break free from and overcome, not without deep scars. Yeah, and Womp Biscuits goes on to say, does she get stabbed in the chest with a lightsaber and still live? That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. That was Kylo Ren. Patrick Lemire, she doesn't get caught in a bear trap and escape even without even a limp. Yeah, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, she gets beat up pretty bad though. Yeah.
Anana Mouse says, sounds like it might be worth watching. It is worth watching.
Yeah.
It's actually in theaters now, but I assume because it's in India, it'll be VOD soon.
Well, I mean, like with Dragon Ball Z, there's such a void and a vacuum in movies right now that a lot of these indies and foreign films and anime and whatever, they're flooding the theaters right now.
Who doesn't love Aubrey Plaza, says Scott Slaughterbeck. I would recommend a podcast. Mark Maron did an episode of his show. I don't really listen to him anymore, but back in the day, he had these sort of long form conversations with, I assume he probably still does it. He did this interview with Aubrey Plaza, and it's fascinating. She went through her whole life and kind of like why she is kind of the way she is. She had a stroke when she was young, like in her early 20s. She had a stroke and it just changed her life. Kind of like when George Lucas got in this, this car accident where he, by all accounts, should have died. And George Lucas was just kind of didn't know what he was going to do with his life, kind of a loser. And he changed his life after this car accident. And Aubrey Plaza had this, she had a stroke. That's something you mostly associate with, senior citizens, older people have strokes. She had one when she was young, and it just changed everything about her. And you should listen to that Mark Maron podcast about where Aubrey Plaza talks about her life. Really interesting story. Aubrey Plaza sounds like a college campus building, says MK Solid 82. Scud X says, what? Wait, is this a Safdie movie, or are there just tonal parallels? It's just tonal parallels.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah, definitely tonal parallels.
I mean, it's one of those stories of things get worse before they get better, and it gets brutal along the way.
It gets brutal. Exactly. Lubitsch Touched Me is a member. Thank you for that. The Uncut Gems comparison just completely turned me off since I hated that movie. That's all right. To each his own. But, imagine that, but with a woman. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. Ignore that I just said that.
Oh, wow.
CD Stein 69. My son washed dishes at our local Chinese restaurant and said they made totally different food for the employees going on break than they served to the people coming in to eat it. Is that true, Alan?
My family, we went to Hawaii for vacation. We went to a Chinese restaurant, and let's just say we had the greatest meal ever, and none of those items were on the menu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because
apparently they don't get a lot of Chinese people in that Chinese restaurant.
There you go. Not the Batman says, so based on Aubrey Plaza's real life, I don't know. Does she have a felony conviction? She might. I don't know. Interesting. But I would recommend Emily the Criminal. It is in theaters. If you are a AMC Stubs member, as I am, I can see 3 movies a week. I feel it's a very good value. I found out recently, the pricing is different in different parts of the country. In California, A-list is $25 a month. In other parts of the country, it's cheaper.
I don't want to hear
like
that.
Everything.
I don't want to hear that.
California.
Ugh.
All right. MK Solid 82 says, I saw Alan swap suitcases with a Disney executive. Interesting.
I don't know that was me.
Alan, give me a break.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Was it you? Wait a sec, Alan. Is this you? I've got to find the. Wait.
You got to have these queued up better.
I got to have. Anyways, all right. Well, let's switch gears here. Thank you for all of your great comments here. The secret Chinese menu is real, says Bromide01. Really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's real.
Oh my God. How did I not know this? That's crazy. All right, let's switch gears for a moment. Let's talk about E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Let's I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. Someone will get it quicker than me. Okay. We got it here. Is that it? There we go. All right. E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial is back in theaters. Its 40-year anniversary is being celebrated here in 2022, originally released in 1982, which was a banner year for genre films, 1982. So many, that literally was this sort of culmination of so many great genre movies coming out that year. Not all of them did well, though. Not all of them did well or endured. But that, look up 1982, Blade Runner, Tron, E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, so much good stuff in 1982. But I remember when E.T. came out, it was one of those films that had a broad mainstream success. And this movie endures to today. A whole new generation of people watching E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, and you just having seen it in IMAX, really forgot how powerful that movie is. What's interesting about it, it came out at a time when like merchandising was a big deal. There was only one piece of merchandise that survived from E.T. They tried to merchandise it. There was an Atari 2600 game that tanked, and the legend of all the cartridges buried in the desert from Atari, because they made more Atari 2600 cartridges of E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial Atari 2600 video game than units existed that they could be played on. It was like this huge manufacturing error. So they are buried in the desert. There's a documentary about that, by the way, that you can see. Look it up. Look up E.T. Atari 2600. But the only thing was a plushie. That was it. And there was a terrible song that was on the radio. I hated this song.
The Neil Diamond song, you did not like it?
Turn on your heart light. I hated that. Thankfully, the song is not in the movie, but that horrible song dominated radio play in the 80s, in 82, and it was inspired by the movie E.T., and it was a freaking awful song, but the movie holds up. Saw it last night with a packed crowd. I was very surprised. The 7:00 show, the AMC Burbank 16, packed house. And just seeing it again, and just to be clear, this is the version with guns. Okay. This is the version that has the guns. They did a digital. I feel like Steven Spielberg was swayed to the dark side by George Lucas.
Yeah, it was post the special editions.
Post the Star Wars special editions, like, yeah, why don't we do special editions of all these movies? I think a lot of this, the reason for doing it is contractual. And I hate to say this, greed. And then it's morbid curiosity, with like fans like myself that like, well, I want to see the special edition of E.T. How is it better? It's not better. It's awful.
We confirmed that the special editions existed to finance the prequels.
Yeah. That was, do you believe that? Like George Lucas made the special editions to raise the money to make the Star Wars prequels on his own. So he didn't have to be beholden to a bank. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crazy. So, but look, experiencing it with an audience that may have never seen it in theaters in its first run, you really see how powerful that film is, how good the child actors are in that film. They're just amazing. Drew Barrymore, how did she do all that stuff? And Dee Wallace is so good, because I first saw Dee Wallace in The Hills Have Eyes. You ever seen that movie directed by Wes Craven?
I've seen bits of it. I can't get through that movie.
I'm talking about the original.
Yeah.
It's horrific. That movie scared the crap out of me as a kid. Set in the desert. This family is, their little mobile home breaks down. They're kind of stuck in the mobile home. Dad gets shot. And then it's just this fight for survival with these people out in the hills, just living in the hills. Frightening movie. But Dee Wallace is in that film, and she's great in E.T. She really is amazing as the mother. So it was just fantastic to see it on the big screen. I'm glad it's back, and it's in the non-special edition format. I think that the lessons, these special editions, no one cares about the special editions of anything. I can't think of any special edition that was improved. Maybe the Blade Runner director's cut is the only thing I would say that improves the movie. Yeah. That's the only one off the top of my mind. And then
you're making a change for a political reason. That's the only reason they did that. And you can't believe you're gonna build a bigger audience when you do something like that.
Yeah. But Yeah, I know Alan. Alan has to leave in like 10 minutes. And then James is coming on.
Morosini.
Yeah, Morosini's coming on from I Love My Dad. Cannot wait to chat with him about that film. But before we do that, let's go to the chat comments here. Oh my God, we have a lot of comments here. Let's go. Jinx says extra aspect ratio. Bill T says is a member. ET terrified me as a child. Anonymous says I have ET on 4K disc. Keep those discs. Keep those discs. Not the Batman. What? No, I sat way too close to the TV when watching ET back in the day. That was already my IMAX experience.
Do you remember the buzz leading up to this movie in the sense of we didn't know what ET looked like?
Yeah,
and the only way you could find out was to go and see the movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they never like that's what was cool about trailers back then. They didn't give a lot of stuff away.
And the movie just slowly reveals what he looks like. You know, you see his finger, and
right.
You know, I hate the internet.
Mark Clement says 1977 1984 is a golden age. And VDR, I'll take Carpenter's Thing over Spielberg's E.T. I think they're both great. I think they're
one's for kids. One's for kids, and the other's not.
The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing came out in 1982. Mm-hmm. What a great year. What a great year. Yeah. VDR, does Chris appreciate the Yoda cameo in E.T.? Of course. It got a big laugh last night. So if you can catch it in a theater, do it. Really old movie says Superman 2 Richard Donner cut. Yeah, I like that cut. The cut is better. What I don't like is the audio mix. They added all this extra sound that was completely unnecessary. And I do not like that. So the cut, yeah, but the remix on the sound did not improve it.
I need to see that. I recently saw the original Superman 2, and oh man, does that not hold up?
Scott Slaughterbeck says special edition of Close Encounters was a bit better. Yeah. In fact, there's talk of releasing that, and Jaws is coming back to theaters. It's weird that, like, here's what's weird. I can't remember a time, like certainly there would be retrospective screenings of movies back in the day. Can you remember a time when more like mainstream movies are being re-released to theaters than I can't remember any other time? And this is this because Hollywood doesn't know how to do it anymore?
Yep. That's exactly the reason. There's no E.T. original, Raiders of the Lost Ark original. You know, for some reason now Hollywood has to go to intellectual properties because they don't trust people to be original anymore, and they won't invest $100 million in a story that hasn't been proven in some way, whether it's a comic book, a novel, or what have you. And then it's weird just to see that the 40th anniversary of E.T., it just constant reminders of how old I am and how much older I'm getting. I think I've talked about this before, but I found recently, one of my favorite radio stations became an 80s station until I realized, no, that's the oldies station I used to listen to as a kid. And so, yeah, I'm getting old. All right, let's take a look at a few more comments here. We got that one. John Manilang. Jaws is coming back to theaters next month, I think. Yeah, I haven't heard that yet. Antoine Dennison, E.T. also got a shout out at the Imperial Senate in the Star Wars prequels. That's right. There's a box in the Senate there with, I think, 3 ETs in it. Let's see. Patrick Lemire. M&M's passed on sponsorship, paving the way for Reese's Pieces. Yes, I never did this before until E.T. came out, but I read the novel, the novelization of E.T., and in that novel, it is M&M's and not Reese's Pieces. But still, M&M is the better of the two. Dempsey, Hollywood needs more Mel Brooks. Yes. At least old Mel Brooks. Young Frankenstein Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles Mel Brooks. As much as I like Robin Hood and Spaceballs, those are just more parodies. I want the smart comedies of early Mel Brooks. All right, you're back, and I gotta go soon.
Wait, and did we get to this comment? Auto Tomato. Nope. Don't agree. Preferred the Blade Runner theatrical cut. Yeah,
is there enough difference to really make a decision like that?
No, I mean, well, I think the big difference is the voiceover. Mm-hmm. Right? It's sort of a detective voiceover. And of course, the lore is that Harrison Ford purposely did a terrible job on the voiceover, hoping that they wouldn't use it because he thought it was a bad choice. And then they left it in. Yeah. So let's see if we got to this comment. Sorry, I had to.
No.
Quick bathroom break because Alan's got to leave. John Manilang, member. Thank you for that. Yeah, Hollywood's well of creativity has been stagnant for quite some time now. I just feel like here's where Hollywood's at is they don't know what to do after the end of Endgame. I mean, it's very clear that the phase 4 of Marvel is weak and directionless, and you can feel it. You can really feel it. And I believe it's reflected in the box office. There is I don't know that there's superhero fatigue. There's definitely bad movie fatigue, and there's Marvel fatigue. I think we kind of see where Marvel's going based on the Disney Plus shows. I haven't liked any of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. I haven't liked any of them. The one I'm looking forward to, oddly, please don't judge, is She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. Well, we'll have word on that this week.
We'll talk about it. About it. Maybe we should do a stream on Monday.
Maybe. Yeah, we have I don't know if we mentioned, but we do have the first 4 episodes.
Okay, so we'll have to watch those.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, I recommend seeing this in a theater. I think it's amazing. And also what's interesting about seeing re-released films in a theater is it stands in contrast to a lot of the Hollywood films made today, where you're like, why can't Hollywood make a movie like that?
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I'm saying is, if they're going to invest $100-200 million in a movie, they're not going to risk it on an original idea. So they're going to risk it on some kind of proven or not so proven intellectual property.
Patrick Lemire says, I don't mind multiple cuts existing, but George Lucas bearing the original trilogy theatrical cuts is criminal. Well, that's why you need to get the despecialized editions. So just look up Star Wars despecialized edition. Look it up. You can find it.
I still have some of the original DVDs or VHSs, I should say.
Trav 101 says, Cobra Kai, you got to do a review of it, Film Threat. I'll give you my review right now. It's awesome. But I haven't seen the recent season. I only saw the first 2 seasons. I have not seen season 3. So it seems like it was getting a little too over the top for me. Although I do love Johnny Lawrence. Mm-hmm. That character is like, I feel like that character is kind of like, that would be me. Like that just like sort of rooted in common sense, very based, like that's, I feel like I relate to him quite a lot. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it's a great series. Thank you, Trev 101. I mean, it's been reviewed. It's kind of older. Like maybe there's a new season coming, I assume. So maybe
yes, sir.
When the new season starts, we could do a review of that. We're going to be doing television for the next probably month or so. So here's what we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering She-Hulk. We're going to cover Andor. We're going to cover the House of the Dragon. And we're also be covering that Rings of Power show. The Rings of Power. It's coming. Dempsey, who's a member, thank you for that. Oldies but goldies indie movie reviews. We could do that too. I mean, I do kind of like, just over the course of doing the show, I will throw out certain references to indie films that I recommend and kind of give little capsule quick take reviews. So that happens a lot. It just happens a lot in normal conversation.
I was just thinking we should do kind of a DVD Day, but with indie streams and just rattle them off. Rattle like 5 or 6 off.
We can do that. We can definitely do that. But I know, Alan, you have to go.
Yeah, I do, actually.
So let's everyone say goodbye to Alan Ng. He is out the door. Alan is going to be at the CineQuest Film Festival a week from today.
Yeah.
He'll be doing reporting live from that. If you're a member, Alan will be posting exclusive content, photos and videos, and mini interviews. He'll be posting interviews with filmmakers from CineQuest. Alan, and then I am going to be traveling to Vegas on Wednesday and more than likely doing our normal stream from the road while Alan is. So we're kind of reversing roles here. Alan's in the chair on Wednesday. I'm on the road. I'll be in the chair on Friday. Alan will be out in the field. But
Yes.
Alan,
and if you are in the San Jose area, yeah, I'll be at CineQuest. That's where it's going to be.
CineQuest, a great independent film festival where you can discover a lot of amazing indie movies. And I'm excited that you're going to be going there. Have a good time, Alan.
Yeah, it looks like you have a guest, so I will pop out.
Our special guest today is here. I'm excited. Alan, safe travels. Oh, Alan's out the door. All right. Need to talk about this movie, I Love My Dad. This is my favorite comedy of the year. It's in theaters. You absolutely need to see this film. It's it's kind of my favorite kind of comedy. It's cringe in so many ways, but in the best ways. And oddly, it's got so much heart. Patton Oswalt plays the father. James Morosini, writer, actor, director, is the lead. Franklin has this tenuous relationship with his dad. His dad unfriends him and blocks him on Facebook. And his father still wants to have a relationship with his son. And what does he do? He catfishes his own son with pictures of a young woman named Becca who works at a diner. And Franklin falls in love with this girl. Unbeknownst to him, it's his dad. There's so much to love about this film, not just the aspects, the sort of comedic situational aspect, but also it's about love and how we connect today. And I'm excited to have on the director, the main creative person behind this film, this movie that you absolutely must see. James Morosini, welcome to the Film Threat livecast here. How's it going, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm great. Dude, this movie is a gem. I see a lot of independent films. This movie, I believe it premiered at South by Southwest. Correct me if I'm wrong. Great reception there. What has been the response to this film now that it's like out in the world? Is it on VOD today?
It's on VOD today. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. What's been the response, people, and especially in particular, the response at South by Southwest?
I mean, South by Southwest was so fun. It's the perfect audience for a film like this. I feel like people there are able to get down with its weirdness and are willing to kind of go along with the story more than a traditional audience might be able to. So it was the perfect place to kind of bring the story to an audience for the first time.
Well, you're getting a lot of love and questions in the chat. We'll get to those chat questions, but I need to point out you have a Being There poster in your background.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that is one of my all-time favorite comedies from
it's too, man. I mean, Hal Ashby does an incredible job threading that tonal needle because it almost feels like a Merchant Ivory film, but then it has this crazy main character at the heart of it. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, he never tips his hand to make it overly funny. It always feels very neutral and kind of poised in an unusual way that I really admire.
I'm sure you should check out if you've heard of the documentary Hal about Hal Ashby.
I love it. Yeah, it's a great doc.
Such a great doc about, Harold and Maude and Being There, among other films that he made. And he really was a unique filmmaker. But I have to ask, before we get to our chat questions, what inspired this movie? Because it says in a really interesting, at the beginning of the movie, it says based on a true story, or what does it say exactly? It's based on real events.
I think it says this actually happened. My dad asked me to tell you it didn't. And yeah, I mean, a long time ago, my dad and I got in a fight and I decided to block him on social media. I was going through a tough time, but I wouldn't talk with him about any of it. I got home one day and this really pretty girl had sent me a friend request. She had all these incredible pictures and the same interests as me. I was really excited. And then it turned out to be my dad. And so after it happened, I didn't think about it for a long time. And then I was reminded that it happened by my dad a few years ago. And I just was, there was something about that behavior that I just needed to unpack and try to wrap my head around, because it's maybe the most loving and messed up thing anyone's ever done to me. And I liked that it had both of those things in this single action.
I also love the fact that there are so many touching moments in the midst of the comedy. There's the way in which you show you're chatting on Facebook, but Becca is, you see in your mind's eye, Becca is there. The actress who plays Becca, what's her name?
Claudia Sulewski.
Oh my God. She is so perfect in this role. The sort of two versions of her, the real version of her in the diner, the real person, and then the person in your head of who you think she is based on the photos and how she's responding. And the way you use this visual device of having her with you as you are seeing her is so incredible. And then the other side of it, where Patton Oswalt is your father, his version of it, you had to, in a scene, you had to kiss Patton. How'd you convince Patton Oswalt to be in the movie? And then how'd you say, oh, and here's how visually we're going to tell this part of the story?
Patton read the script, loved it. He and I talked through how I was intending to execute the story, and he was really on board. For those scenes, it was tricky because he's only experiencing his side of those conversations throughout the shooting schedule. And so I would often show him storyboards to walk him through how it was all going to cut together, because the movie really relies on that juxtaposition in order to work. For part of the movie, we're kind of almost falling in love with this girl in the same way that Franklin is, and we're having to constantly remind ourselves that this is actually his dad. And that was fun to me, because we're so used to seeing these on-screen romances, and we're trained to kind of root for them. And so it creates this weird tension, I think, in an audience's mind, where we're like, I want this to work out, but I know that it can't, because that's actually his dad. The highs for Franklin, where Franklin is experiencing the most intimacy with Becca, are the lows for Chuck, because now he's having to deal with his son getting more and more interested in this girl.
And if it were only a comedy, that would be fine. But what I do like are the deeper layers, which is, Franklin's relationship to his father, the supporting cast. Rachel Dratch, inspired casting. She's so good as Chuck's girlfriend. Oh my God. And then there's a scene that really blew the ending is just so touching. And what I love also, 90 minutes of comedy. It's so tight. Such a God, I can't heap enough praise. The scene that you filmed underwater was I got like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind vibes. That's kind of a dark romance, but this is a really touching romance. That scene just blew me away.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
want to talk about that.
It was important to me that the movie was emotionally grounded. I was intending to make a funny movie, but I didn't want it to just be laughs for laughs' sake. I wanted to feel really invested in each of these characters. And I wanted to capture the experience of family, which is a hodgepodge of all of the feelings of you're embarrassed by your parents, and you love them, and you want to be closer sometimes, and you want to push them away sometimes. And I wanted an audience to be really invested in Chuck's efforts to reconnect with his son in this way, knowing that it's definitely not the right way to go about doing it, but he is worried about his son and needs to make sure he's okay. And this feels like his only option, because he's kind of working with limited emotional tools. in terms of that underwater scene, it starts off with Becca walking away from Franklin on the water, and I wanted it to feel like she's going somewhere that he can't follow. It's a moment of the film where Chuck is trying to break up with Franklin so that he can end it. And she's saying all this stuff that doesn't quite make sense, but because it's coming from Becca, it's weirdly grounded in some sort of emotional truth for her, and she's walking away on the water. And I wanted this. She then drops into the water, and he follows her, and it's I wanted it to feel like this pull of a relief almost for him, of being able to, she's going away and now he wants to go away too. And there's a weird kind of surrender that I wanted to express through that moment. And Chuck is now having to grapple with the fact that he's now put his son back into this really dangerous emotional territory.
You've got a lot of questions in the chat. I don't know how long you can stick with us, but let's go through some of these comments and questions. Scott Slaughterbeck says, "Love My Dad trailer, looks hilarious." Retro Nerd Girl says, "The premise for I Love My Dad is outrageous." James, how did you come up with the idea? I think you answered that. This is a great story, says Trav 101. Does your dad want a writer credit? Says Patrick Lemire. How did your dad respond when you basically said, "Hey, I'm going to turn this concept into a movie"?
I don't think he realized that I was going to make a bigger movie with this. I think he was just like, okay, cool. And then I flew to Colorado and I spent a lot of time with him as I was writing it. He gave me access to his journals, which I don't recommend reading your parents' journals. I mean, they were helpful as I was crafting the story, but I was reading stuff that I would rather not hear about. But yeah, I mean, he saw the movie for the first time at South by Southwest in an audience of like 600 people. And came up for a Q&A after, which is available online.
Oh, wow. More questions here. Dempsey asks, "James, you've been directing for a while now as well as acting. What unique qualities do you believe you've developed from being in front of the camera as well as behind it?"
I think when you're you learn what you need, what you wish you had. So when you're in front of the camera and you're working with the director, you pick up the things that support a performance or inhibit a performance, which are often, you want freedom. You when you're in front of the camera, you want to feel like you have as much time as possible. You want to feel encouraged to take big swings and to fail. And you don't want to be overly conscious of the mechanisms of a production. So while I'm directing, I try to keep my actors as innocent to the factors of around the production as possible. And I want to encourage big swings in directions we may not have thought about. And I also think it's really important that actors understand how I'm intending to tell the story, and that we're all aiming at the same target. Sometimes you'll work on a show and it'll be unclear what the genre of the show is or the feel of the show is. And so you sometimes don't know what kind of tonal ballpark you're playing in. And so that has always been really important for me to make clear with all of my collaborators.
More comments here. Dempsey says, "That sounds like a proud dad moment." That sounds great. "Truth is stranger than fiction," says Scott Slaughterbeck. And then CD969 says, "What kind of movie do you want to make that you don't see in cinema right now?" I'll just say this movie is so unique. Like, it really stands against a lot of things that we're seeing at the movies right now. And so are you seeing, I mean, you really made something counter to what people are, you didn't make a superhero movie is what I'm trying to say. But like, is there one that you want to make that you're not seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, making a movie it's a 3-year mission where you want to be able to die on the hill of whatever movie you make. So I don't ever see myself taking like making a movie just to make a movie. I've done that earlier on in my career, and it requires so much effort that it needs to be a extremely satisfying endeavor. And I do create from a place of what I would like to see in theater. I'm interested in subverting genre, taking genres we're really familiar with, like a superhero genre or a horror genre, or a Western or whatever, and then putting it in a context that we're not used to seeing, exploring the story from a character's perspective we may not be familiar with, or kind of critiquing the genre while remaining inside of it. Ultimately, I'm interested in making spectacle films with a lot of emotional investment in our characters and that are surprising an audience. I think that's often a filmmaker's intent, but that's the best way I can articulate where I'm at now.
Well, yeah, I would love to see. I mean, Marvel has actually been very good about bringing indie filmmakers into the fold. I mean, James Gunn's career before, he did Guardians of the Galaxy was a movie called Super with Rainn Wilson, which is kind of a trauma movie. It also has a lot of heart, that film. You got to check that one out. But yeah, I could see you definitely doing something with big spectacle and adding that. That's what really works about I Love My Dad, is that, and you use that. It's so few films are able to use technology in the right way. It's really part of the story, the social media aspect, that connection. And I feel like so much the film has to say about that. And I feel like you do it so well. Retro Nerd Girl asks, James, how did you reconcile this with your dad? Or is that a spoiler for the film?
I would watch the movie, but I can say that I definitely took some creative license with the film itself, but Retro Nerd Girl, you should watch the movie, and I like your name.
Strong recommendation. Solomon Thornton says, get this man to direct Marvel films with 100% creative control. Trav 101 asks, James, are there any actors you'd like to work with? I mean, you got to work with Patton. That's pretty awesome. And Rachel Dratch. Really good.
Yeah, I mean, so many. I think I'm interested in working with actors that, for me, the fun of it is total immersion in a story. So I'm interested in working with actors that are willing to go to that level of depth with a story and take it further than it being just a job. To me, it's you're playing pretend as extremely as you possibly can. And so actors that approach the work in that way, I think it's just appealing. You're in the same game then with them, and you're able to really discover together, and that's what makes the whole process so satisfying.
Flaccid Phoenix asks, were there any difficulties while making this film that you didn't see coming? There's always challenges, especially with any indie movie. You didn't have $100 million to make this, I assume, but what were some of the challenges?
Directing and acting in a film like this is tricky because the character I'm playing is extremely emotional, but also shut down. And so that required very careful crafting. And at the same time, I'm pivoting from being kind of shut down but at the same time close to the surface, and then having to pivot to supportive director mode. And especially those scenes with Patton where I'm very shut down toward him. And then when we call cut, I'm having to get into a different mode and then transition back. It's also, on a movie like this, you're working with less time than you wish you had. So you're having to really remain hyper-focused for the entire shoot and be extremely deliberate each step of the way. There's not a lot of room for experimentation. And that was often difficult because you're often battling between the idea you have and the better idea that may possibly exist but might not work. And so you're always kind of navigating between these two things.
Patrick Lemire asks, so out of the two, actor or director?
Gosh, I kind of think about them in a very similar way. When I'm acting in something, I'm thinking about it directorially. I'm thinking like, what role do I serve in the overall story? And when I'm directing, I feel like I'm acting as each of the people in the story, and I feel like I'm playing all of the parts in a way. I think it's really story dependent. Some stories, if a story is about something I don't feel I have narrative authority around, overall, I'd prefer to play as an actor. If it's something that feels personal in a burning way for me, that I feel like I have a specific take on, then for me, it's about getting behind the camera.
Question here from Dempsey. Would you rather have basically an unlimited budget with corporate creative control over you, or a low budget film with full creative license in your hands? I mean, that's really a choice with a lot of filmmakers these days. You know, am I working with a big corporation, kind of, you know, giving them what they want, but then also indie film. And this is why we all love independent film, is that creative visionary like yourself and being able to like put that on screen. Do you wrestle with that or think about it?
I think so. I mean, the problem with independent films is that you don't necessarily have full creative control because you're so limited by your level of resources. And so that's a factor that I'm becoming more aware of. And to me, it just comes down to the script. You have, as long as you have that initial conversation. I mean, making a film is like a marriage in a way, and the script is the contract that you're making with your partners, and you're going, we're agreeing this is the movie we want to make. And so those initial conversations are really where a lot of that is ironed out. And as long as I can get down with, as long as we're on the same page about our intention, then, you know, I'd rather make as big a movie as possible. I mean, playing in that with a large canvas is always fun.
Another question here from Flaccid Phoenix. How much improv was used while filming the movie? Did you get to do a lot of that, or was it stick to the script?
You know, I love this. I love the Flaccid Phoenix's name, first off. I wonder what a flaccid phoenix is. But you know, it was a very finely tuned story because we're intercutting so many different locations. And what Chuck is saying is often what Becca is saying, that we may have shot on a different day. And then we're also having to maintain a certain continuity when we do see screens conversationally. It needs to be almost word perfect. And so because of those technical limitations, it needed to be pretty, you know, we didn't do a ton of improvising. There are a few moments where I'd always give actors freedom, especially where that stuff didn't matter as much. But for the most part, we stayed pretty on script.
Yeah, well, it's so clever how you use this thing when you're communicating via text, and then it's expressed in your head. And the part where Becca says, let's play a gam, you know, just like you're including, like, you know, the typos that people always make when you're texting. Just such a clever device. Because we've seen people try to integrate text into films, texting, you know, maybe it pops up on screen kind of right here while someone, and I thought the way you did it was so original and beautiful and creative.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how much time we have you for, but you've got a lot of people here asking, but let's just cut right to this. Solomon Thornton asks, any advice for beginning filmmakers?
What I would tell myself, if I were talking to myself 10 years ago, I would say, read a lot of scripts. You can find any script online by typing in the name of the movie and putting PDF next to it. I would try to write a great script and then insist upon directing it. So the first part of that is learning how to write a great script, which includes a lot of reading, a lot of sharing your material with other writers. Reddit has a subreddit called R Screenwriting, and there are people that are willing to trade scripts and talk about things together. And I would encourage people to check that out. And, you know, it's about, I think, developing a commitment to the mastery of it as opposed to any particular project necessarily working out, and just being willing to fail forward and learn and then learn from those mistakes, and just really be willing to let your ambition always slightly exceed your grasp, so that you have to develop new tools and storytelling ability in order to achieve those goals.
Well, it looks like people are Googling you, because Patrick Lemire asked, after winning Screencraft for ILMD, what was the process? Was the prize contacts, a stipend?
I met with a few folks after winning, and more than anything, it brought the script to people into some people's Patton's manager read the script after that win, and that's how Patton became aware of the script. So it was definitely helpful, but it required still the same amount of legwork that it would traditionally.
Right. And then Zach McCarthy says, James, are you secretly related to Hayden Christensen? I need to know. Odd question.
Yeah, I appreciate it, though. He's a handsome man.
And Lubitch Touched Me says, do you have any directors who greatly influenced your style?
Oh gosh, I mean, all of them that I love. I admire Paul Thomas Anderson for being able to be playful with his films while never tipping his hand that that's what he's trying to do. Like Phantom Thread is one of the funniest films he's ever made, but it's so poised and austere, but it's almost making fun of itself in that same way. Tarantino, I grew up watching. Wolfgang Peterson, I love that he makes these big kind of campy movies, but is so committed to them having a certain quality to them, at least his older stuff. Ruben Östlund, I love. Oscar Ferrati makes these incredibly complex morality tales. Spike Jonze, Charlie Kaufman, Hal Ashby. The list goes on.
And Flaccid Phoenix is back with our last question here. What's your dream project that you want to work on in the future? Do you have a dream project?
I love movies that never wink at the camera, that never overly signal their genre or tone to an audience, but it feels like you're all in. I mean, it's almost like the Andy Kaufman version of filmmaking, where you're not winking at an audience, and it forces a certain level of engagement with the film because you're trying to figure out what it is. And so being able to do that in an elevated genre context is certainly something I'm really interested in.
James, thank you for coming on the Film Threat Livecast. Dude, the movie is so good. I watched it twice, and then I was telling everybody, you got to see this. You got to see this. It's so good. And just ecstatic that it's out on VOD. That means I can buy it and see it again. And I'm recommending it to everybody here watching. James, can't wait to see what you do next in your career, dude.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. This was really fun, man. And thanks everyone for watching.
Awesome. All right. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks
All
again.
Right, man. You too.
Later. Bye. Thanks. What a great dude. That was great. God, man, we're getting a lot of people now coming on the Film Threat Livecast. James, what a great guy. I'm going to buy the movie today because it's actually on Vudu. Okay. It's on Vudu. So people are saying, hey, Patrick Lemire says, thank you, James. Goober says, thanks. Scott Slaughterbeck, thanks. Great interview. Flaccid Phoenix says, great interview. Thanks, James, for coming on the show. Flaccid Phoenix, he liked your name. And Dempsey says, that was a fun interview. Thank you, Film Threat and James. And that's going to wrap it up for us today. I just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining us. We had like 300 people watching today. I know we get a lot more views because people check in, after the live stream. So thank you. Thank you for however you watch the show, whether you watch the show live or on the replay. Thank you for that. Next week is going to be a big week for us. We're going to be talking about the new Marvel Disney Plus series, She-Hulk. We'll be talking about that. Alan and I will have seen the first 4 episodes. We're going to talk about this exploitation movie. I can't believe that they made a movie with this title. It's called Don't Fuck in the Woods 2. They made a part 2? Okay, that's pretty weird. In addition, we're going to take a deep dive on Friday into Dragon Ball Superhero with Yellow Flash is going to be joining us on the show. We'll talk about that. And Idris Elba has a new movie out called Beast. I'll be seeing that also. And of course, we're going to talk about new indie movies that you've never heard of that you really need to see. One of them, I got to tell you, look up the trailer for this. And remember, I recommend this. I'm just recommending it based on the trailer. I haven't seen it yet. It's called Funny Pages. Look up that trailer. Look up the trailer. It's from A24. I'm seeing it next week, and I can't wait to chat with you about it because just based on the trailer, looks pretty awesome. Looks pretty good. So, and with that, last week says the interview was good, but we want nipples. Do you really? Do we really need to do that? Okay, fine. Let's get to it. Here's the Alan that you crave. And Dempsey says this is a great way to put it. Dempsey is a member, and just so you know, just become a member. It's super easy. You know, your chats get highlighted. You get additional content. I'll be posting more videos and pictures and whatnot. Alan with his adventures. I'm going to be going to Vegas next week for the FNT meetup. Might be posting some videos for members only. So check that out. And thank you, Dempsey, for being a member. And with that, Dempsey says, let's get out of here.